Hi, I'm Linda Hodge. I've been a member of Hideaway Hills for 15 years and a full-time resident for the last 13. My favorite pastime in the hills, which you would not realize if you've ever watched, is golf. The one thing I've learned over the years is it's not the quality of the clubs that make a difference. The central question was, what do you feel is the most endangered natural resource in the hills? The challenge of any resource is, by the time you know you have a real problem, it's often too late to correct the problem. One of the things I think we need to keep an eye on is our water supply. Water supply is really impacted by three things. Decrease or at least variable precipitation, which recharges it, and also an increase in population and increase in temperature. We tend to think about that as a Southwest issue or a Great Plains issue, but I read a National Geographic article recently that said 40 of our 50 states could face a future water shortage. Now, bring it down to the hills. We currently have roughly 725 homes, but we have, I think, in the neighborhood of 400 lots that could conceivably be built on. Some members have a lot, have not yet built. Some have an adjacent lot, then they're not joined, so that lot could be sold and built on. And then we have members who have multiple lots, either adjacent or kind of scattered throughout the hills. So if those lots were ever built on, we could see a 58% increase in the number of homes. Do we have the water supply to sustain that? The truth is we don't know. So what could we do to address that? The current board made a great move, I think, when they stopped the future sale of club-owned lots. There are 3 or 4 left. After that, no more club-owned lots will be sold. We could also encourage members who have an adjacent lot to join them. I actually did that last year, so my second lot will never be built on. Third, encourage people to conserve. Here's something I've been guilty of. You are loading your dishwasher and you flip the faucet on and you let it run while you're rinsing dishes and you put them in the dishwasher. That takes about 20 gallons of water if you do that. And the average American consumes, I think it's between 80 and 100, or uses between 80 and 100 gallons per day. So that would be making people aware of the water usage. We also might possibly get a few members who would be willing to have their wells monitored on an annual basis. That would give us some historical data and some baseline data so we could tell if our water supply is maintaining, increasing, or decreasing. So those are some of my thoughts about what we might do, and I think I'm out of time, so thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Well, my name is Patrick Connor. Been a member here since 1963. Obviously I was a young child at that point in time, but grew up coming down virtually every weekend of my youth and adolescent and early adult years, and my wife and I built a cabin and started in 2003, and we sold that cabin in 2015, and so we left the hills briefly because of a job responsibilities in Florida, and came back in 2018, purchased another house and renovated it, and so we're here. I served as a trustee in the early 2000s until my job responsibilities and travel requirements, it kind of became untenable, and so chose not to run for an additional term at that point in time. My favorite pastime in the hills is hanging out with my friends. The group of friends I hang out with are, for the most part, people I've grown up with and known for over 50 years, and we remain closest of friends. And so we hang out together, socialize, and that sort of thing. I'm a huge bicyclist, so I bicycle virtually every day that I'm down here, anywhere from 15 to 30 miles, and so we do a lot of that, and again with mostly with my friend Jeff Leva, a small group of other folks. The most endangered natural resource in the hills, I will say, are the lakes. We need to arrive at a consensus of what these lakes represent and how important they are. I will tell you, in my own experience, every one of the lakes has suffered some degree of degradation in water quality and clarity, and most of that ties back to the eradication of healthy vegetation within the lakes. There's a campaign to eradicate the weeds in the lakes, and when the weeds went, so did a lot of other wildlife that use that vegetation. The fishing was better back then. The water quality was higher. I can remember where the second lake, Lake Arrowhead, that water was clearer than the big lake, and you could see virtually all the way to the bottom of that lake. Eagle Claw continues, I think, to be maybe the best example, and I think we need to be working hard on the smaller lakes to preserve their natural beauty as natural a way as possible. And I think that comes down to creating a plan for what those lakes represent. We have a recreation lake, which is the Four Seasons. I think the other lakes, my personal view, should be reserved for paddlecraft and the natural beauty that they represent.
Yeah.
So there's one other resource I would like to speak to, and that's the water tables, in the hills. And we continue. I know personally, we've had to drill new wells at every one of our homes, to go deeper and deeper and deeper. There's going to be a limit to that, and I think we're going to need to, at some point, address the density of development in the hills and wrestle with some really tough questions around that have to do with lot owners that haven't developed but plan to, and issues like that. How do we deal with that? What are the solutions around that? I think going to a water treatment or a water supply is problematic. We're going to have some tougher solutions around how we do that, and probably sooner rather than later, given the density and the rapidity of the development that's taking place. So.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Wolfe. I have been a member in Hideaway Hills for 10, almost 11 years. My favorite pastime in Hideaway is spending time with family and friends, as I'm sure it's most people's favorite pastime. What I feel is the most endangered natural resource in Hideaway are our trees, because without them, Hideaway would just be an H with no Hideaway. Our deer population is decimating some of the new growth. Invasive species and vines are choking out everything. And without healthy trees, our roads suffer due to erosion. Our trees are in a constant state of danger of falling on both our roads and our houses. Just driving up Hideaway Lane, you can see all of the down trees, and that's evidence of what happens when we're not paying enough attention to this particular resource. One of the beauties of Hideaway is watching the trees change, marking the passage of another year. And so how I would address this is that we need to plan to protect our trees and develop a long-term conservation plan to address both protecting them and eliminating some of their risk. Thank you, Hideaway. Vote for me in August, and thank you.
Okay, hi, my name is Greg Blank. I have been a member of Hideaway Hills as what I would call a primary member for 21 years now, but I was a family member going back to the very early 1970s. My dad had a place here, 168 Shawnee and 268 Shawnee, actually, on Lake Eagle Claw. and I've been coming here and riding dirt bikes and things like that for, well, close to 50 years now. My favorite pastime in the hills, there have been a couple over the years. Growing up, certainly it was being able to ride dirt bikes on the roads here, which I thought was just an amazing thing for a kid to be able to do. Really enjoyed that. And as an adult, I've gotten very involved in the shooting range and have been part of the range committee for the last 14 years. I've also spent extensive time boating on Lake of the Four Seasons. We had a boat here for a number of years, but I've since moved away from all of that. I enjoy most of the amenities in the hills, and I don't want to leave the lodge and the clubhouse out of that either, because I really enjoy the fellowship and getting to meet and talk with our neighbors and friends and have a central place to catch up. Okay, so in terms of natural resources, I feel that there are several things that are endangered in the hills. If you want to talk about endangerment, we can talk about the lakes. That's been a hot subject lately, obviously. Obviously, there's also questions about groundwater as we've gotten more and more membership and more traffic down in the hills. The roads have become an issue. We can look at all kinds of infrastructure and talk about which one is the most threatened and what we would do about it. But in my mind, there is no greater threat, because all of our resources are affected by this. There is no greater threat than the threat of not gathering the information we need to gather to assess those resources. I think we're getting there on some pieces. I know that there is additional work being done with the lakes concerning erosion and water quality and all kinds of things like that, which is fantastic. I love the information gathering and analysis, and we need to apply that to all of our natural resources, and we need to take a much more inclusive approach to the diverse opinions of membership. I don't have all of the answers. I don't know how to fix everything. Neither does anyone else, but collectively is how the hills has come to exist and thrive over the last 60 years, and collectively is how we will continue to grow and thrive in the future. If we do not embrace the concepts of inclusiveness and sharing diverse opinions to a greater degree, and use those opinions and those individuals who are gathering data and trying to do good things for the club and present that data to the folks, the management committee, the board, the folks that can work with that data and really figure out what our best path is. If we don't include everyone who wants to be included in that process, I think we're selling ourselves short. So to me, the answer is data, analysis, research, including everyone, welcoming the diverse opinions, and then collecting all of that into a package that we can review and make the appropriate decisions, whether it's lakes or roads or any other natural resource.
Cool. Good morning. My name is Chaz Cross. I've been in Hideaway Hills for a total of 59 years. I've been a property owner myself as an adult for 22 of those years. And my favorite pastime is going out on the lake. It's no big secret that you'll find the Cross family out there just about every weekend. I'm not too sure we might not have to claim stake to our own cove here in the not too distant future as we continue out on toys every weekend with grandkids and such. But that being said, I've been asked to give my opinion on what the greatest, the most endangered natural resource in Hideaway Hills is. And it's pretty simple for me. It's us. It's the members. I have kind of a unique perspective in that I've seen a lot of the things that are currently going on in Hideaway Hills go on for 59 years. Some of these things are repetitive. I would reference that the lodge has been shut down a couple times during the time I've been here, and we've always managed to recover from that. I also, as a past board member and management committee member, attended some of the Ohio Lakes Association meetings, and had an opportunity to talk to some of the other members of some of the other lake communities around Ohio. They marvel at what we do here. They marvel at the volunteers. They marvel at our structure. They marvel at our cash flow, and they envy us. Now, that being said, we're not perfect either. But I would tell you that there are a lot of places somewhat similar to Hideaway Hills that are in worse shape than us. And without us, nothing else happens. We don't manage the lakes, we don't manage the water, we don't manage the roads, and we don't manage the lodge and the golf course. So my approach to this entire process is that we all need each other. We've all got varying opinions. We're all adults. We've all been somewhat successful in our lifetime, and we've all landed in Hideaway Hills. And my approach to everything is, when there's a problem, we need to just be cool. We'll figure it out. We don't get anything accomplished when people come in with guns a-blazing and looking to be confrontational. It literally takes us twice as much time to work through the problem when that happens. I was very appreciative during my tenure on the board the first time to any member that had a bad problem that came in front of us. They came up to the microphone and said, "I'm here to figure out how we're going to work through this problem." And from there, it's much simpler to work through every problem rather than get more people involved. And that's the way that I intend to approach this during my tenure in the board, or on the board, if I'm elected. I appreciate your time.
I'm Doug Parker. Been a member of Hideaway Hills for approximately 20 years. Favorite pastimes are probably just simply hiking around and finding different places to walk, for the most part at different times of the day, and also boating. We discovered boating late in life, so we become pretty good boaters, and we like to go out in the evenings especially, because there aren't very many boats out there, in case no one's told you that. So anyway, my speech as far as what the most endangered resource is that it's water. That's probably pretty obvious and certainly very visible. That includes regular use inside the home, as well as outdoor activities, and the septic system, the groundwater and aquifers, ravines and feeder systems, and the lakes themselves. It's hard to miss the fact that more and more folks are coming to the hills to live either part-time or full-time, and that includes Hideaway Hills. More than a few are building new properties, and others are expanding and making over existing homes and adding outdoor living spaces. So we have increased the traditional draw from our below ground water systems, there's no question, and have added stress from dispersal of gray water and sewage as well as runoff. We've met a good many non-native folks around here who, for various reasons, didn't learn much about septic systems, for example, until long after they first began using them. You can probably picture the ultimate results in at least some of those situations. And that helps explain the major revision of Ohio septic regulations that were implemented back in 2015. And again, you'll find more than a fair amount of folks who simply aren't familiar with that fact, nor any specifics about it. Along with the fact that the revision itself is a work in progress with the local health departments. So we're going to have to research, consider, and work with all of these facts continually in the years to come. And it's not a simple matter of just kicking the can down the road. It's a fact that the cans are a lot bigger, the road is a lot shorter and narrower. Our number of members, including family and friends, continues to grow and also change. Their homes also change. Consider that most places built in the early years of Hideaway Hills had only one bathroom. And you can probably find a good many of our Hideaway homes that were built in those early years that still have the same septic and well systems. You can search online for generic videos regarding design, operation, and maintenance of septic systems and articles covering various aspects of the new state regulations. But I've yet to find a simple video that kind of encapsulates what the state had in mind and what the requirements are. So perhaps it's really a good idea for us to get something like that available, either by producing it or finding somebody who has already done that. Let's find the best ways to help our members understand the nature of their well and septic systems and the need for ongoing maintenance and professional inspections. I'd also suggest that we put it on all of ourselves to become much more conscious of our general and variably limited water uses, including its possible effects on our nearby neighbors. After Hideaway Hills' 60th anniversary in 2011, I recall in 2012 our lake levels dropped visibly. In 2013 we added silt dams, but then our thoughts quickly shifted with the old dam slippage and with the big drawdown of the main lake. We've been okay since 2017 with the new dam, but let's not forget to regularly monitor the general health and safety as well as depth of all of our lakes and other water resources. Our silt dams, an additional means of what can be considered quality control, are also greatly important to seeing Hideaway Hills reach its next anniversary milestone, no matter how sooner or later members consider that year to be. Thank you.
My name is Jim Hiles. I've been a member here in Hideaway Hills for 8 years now. I live at lot 399. My favorite pastime in the hills is quite a few things. It's mostly sitting on my front porch in the evening or in the morning. I love just the quiet of the hills, but then again I also love fishing the lakes, and I also love hitting the gun range. That's pretty much where I like to spend my free time when I have it. The question about natural resources in Hideaway Hills and what concerns I would have about those being endangered. As I've talked about before, my work with the deer management program, the concern there was the understory, the underbrush of Hideaway Hills, and the deer's effect on that ecosystem and how that understory slows down the water and prevents erosion. Yes, we have the trees and their large root systems do their part, but the smaller bushes and saplings and grasses, their root systems help to do that too. It becomes a big overall issue when you're talking about erosion, and the rain hits the ground and we need things to slow it down. So it hits our ditches, erodes our ditches faster than they should, and then that eats into our roads, which eats into our roads budget. So there are things like that that are of concern. Another thing I'd be interested in, I don't know about, but I would like to know what our water table's like. We have several hundred straws going into a cup of water. What does that do over time? I don't have any data or anything else to back that up, but it is something I've thought of and would be of interest to me. So I would be, as a board representative, I would be interested in seeing how we can do things to promote the sustainability of those things, our water table, our forest, and how we can protect those to protect our investments. Every member of Hideaway Hills at this point is a six-figure investor in this community. And we have to spend a lot of time not just looking at the symptom of a problem we have, that the ditches are a problem. What caused the problem with the ditches to begin with? Is it a bigger issue? Do we need to think broader? So that's my opinion on it. But as I've stated before, data and facts will drive any decisions that I would make regarding any of these issues in the future.